always been in love with the great outdoors. Ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with nature and all of the beautiful and dangerous things within it. I've made it a life goal to go to as many national parks as I can before I have to go to the big bush in the sky. For my most recent trip, I went to Narakorte Caves National Park. It was amazing. It felt like you were getting under the skin of the earth itself. You were literally surrounded by the history of the land and the life that once was. My only complaint was that it was perhaps a touch too commercial for my tastes. The fossil collection, while fascinating, was all just a little too neat and full of tourists. The bones were well manicured and positioned, feeling almost manufactured. The caves were well marked and extremely busy. I like the feeling of really exploring. It's not an adventure unless you get a little lost. You need to feel a little scared you might not see the sky or the parking lot again. While I was down there, I was able to get away from the swarms of people and do a bit of exploring in the gloomy caves. When I did, I found a ragged backpack that was hooked onto some rocks. Out of curiosity, I grabbed it, as it looked like it had been there an exceptionally long time. Inside of it, I found what you would expect: a water bottle, a rock pick, some ancient-looking granola, and a tattered brochure. The little pamphlet was faded, but it still clearly read, "Welcome to the Tate National Park. We hope you enjoy your visit." The Tate National Park is situated on over 100 acres of bushland, set aside officially for conservation in 1994. This area is known for its interconnected cave network and unusual geological features, such as an underground waterfall and its historical cave paintings. Visitors may explore parts of the caves as well as the walking trails up Stewart Hill. We have a children's play area and a small canteen should you wish to use them during your visit. Toilet facilities are available at the visitor center. Upon arrival, please see the staff at the reception to collect your passes. Your passes should be worn around your neck at all times. Upon receiving your passes, you may collect a brochure and a map for the park and make your way through to the entrance. Alternatively, print off this page and take it with you. Please do not enter the park without a map, and adhere to the sign-posted areas. The Tate National Park will not take responsibility for any liabilities encountered due to non-adherence to these rules. Caves. The caves run for approximately 5.3 kilometers underground, to an explored depth of 200 meters at their deepest points. There will be staff members posted at the entrance. If no staff members are present, please wait for one to arrive before entering the caves. It is a strict policy that all visitors to the cave must be counted on their way in and out. To avoid delay, please ensure all members of your party are present upon entering and exiting the caves. Tours are at 9, 11:30, 1400, and 1730 daily. You may explore the caves on your own if you wish, but please ensure you stick to the sign-posted areas. The caves are dark, and certain areas which look navigable are more treacherous than they seem. Do not enter an area which has been closed off. At the moment, there are paleontological digs going on, so part of the caves have been blocked off. We apologize for any inconvenience. There are emergency switches at regular intervals along the walls. These are red in color and easily reachable from the walkway. If a member of your party goes missing, call out, but do not try to find them. Press the nearest switch and a member of staff will come to assist you. Occasionally, a visitor will observe a man dressed in brown walk past them. He will leave a lantern on the floor and continue into the caves without looking back. You may be tempted to follow him. If you experience this, press your nearest emergency switch and await a member of staff. Do not touch the lantern. Please note, our staff members wear a khaki uniform with a minor blue and green embroidery. It does not differ by gender. Do not accept help from any member of staff wearing a different uniform. They do not work for us. The caves have 3 main visitor routes. Route 1 is a minor route suitable for beginners and is wheelchair accessible. It is 1.2 kilometers long. There are several turnaround points. Route 2 is slightly harder. It is open to those able to walk long distances. Minor climbing is involved. It is for people of moderate athletic ability or higher. From start to finish, it measures 2.2 kilometers. In 2, you will see the Court Waterfall. It is not wheelchair accessible. Route 3 is the most advanced route. Only attempt this route if you are fit and able-bodied. Caving and climbing experience is recommended. Route 3 cannot be explored without a guide. Please arrive an hour before your selected tour time as listed above for a safety demonstration. Without the demonstration, you will not be able to attend the tour. Further notes about the caves. Route 1 boasts the Burgess Wall, a series of cave paintings dating back to the 1800s. Curiously, several of the paintings appear much older. Pigment testing suggests they may date back to 200,000 years. There is no record of who may have made the paintings. The style of the newer paintings and the names written alongside them suggest they were made by European settlers, while the older ones were probably an indigenous group active at that time, though no paintings quite the same have ever been found for comparison. You may notice the lights are low in this part of the cave and the wall is covered by plastic. This is to ensure preservation of the artwork. Flash photography is not permitted in this area. The paintings themselves seem to depict an ancient megafauna, though it is likely the 19th century versions of the native animals we know today. There are several sets of initials along the wall. At the back of the cave is a patch of rocks covered by handprints. Some of these are extremely unusual in shape. Yet, testing of the pigments used suggested they are genuine and old. If you find your full name written among the initials, leave the cave immediately. Route 2 is home to the Court Waterfall. This is perhaps the most unusual geographical feature. Despite being loud enough to hear from afar, there are some nearby points in the cave network where it is almost impossible to hear. 10 meters before the waterfall is a curved piece of tunnel known as the Quiet Corner. Standing in the corner with your back to the wall, it is almost silent. Try it for yourself. The origins and destination of the waterfall remain a mystery. Some suggest the water is drawn from an aquifer, others from a river above ground, making an unexpected detour through the caves. Whatever the reason, it is a fascinating piece of local geology. The waterfall is visible from the viewing gallery marked on the map. Climbing over the railings is strictly prohibited. Please note visitors who attempt to do so will be removed from the premises. In the unlikely event you notice anybody on the rocks between the waterfall and the railings, please tell a member of staff immediately and follow their instructions. Do not attempt to climb down to rescue them. If you begin to feel lightheaded, leave the area immediately. Route 3 was originally mapped out in the early 1800s and is for confident cavers. It contains a number of sharp turns and narrow passageways. Safety equipment is required due to the danger of falling rocks. After about a half an hour's walk, there is a large cave with stalactites and stalagmites, dating back over 200,000 years. Further on, there is more graffiti. The letters SS appear alongside an image of a hand holding a map. It is likely they reference Samuel Orville Stout, who explored the caves in the 19th century and wrote several books on caving. An excerpt from his work, Curious Geology of South Australia, published in 1822, is as follows. The caves are tight and dark, too. Some wind creeps in and makes strange sounds. The waterfall is quiet at points. There are pictures on the wall I do not understand. Strange creatures. They say Australia has stranger creatures than any place outside of Africa, but I have not seen one quite like these paintings. The sounds echo in these cavernous walls. Crevices in the stone cast shadows off my lantern like reaching hands, yet I explore alone. SS also appears on the Burgess Wall on Route 1, alongside the newer writing. Trails. If caving is not for you, don't worry. We have 100 acres of bushland with over 50 kilometers of walking trails for you to enjoy. Please make sure you take plenty of water and sunscreen. Standing at the Visitors Center, straight ahead is Jungle Peak, a rocky outcrop jutting from the side of a small mountain. The name is said to have been a joke among the early settlers of the area, a play on the distinctly barren nature of the site. Unfortunately, the original name has been lost to history. At its highest, the peak is well within average oxygen levels and air pressure. Despite this, it is possible you will experience mild altitude sickness and dizziness at the top of the peak. The cause is unknown. The large hill from which it protrudes is known as Stewart Hill. There are several trails leading to the top, where you will find spectacular views. Some visitors have been reported encountering a telephone tower when on Stewart Hill. If you see one during your visit, leave the area immediately. There are no telephone towers in the park. Climbing is common on Jungle Peak. If you intend to participate, please inform a member of staff upon arrival, and they will provide you with the requisite safety equipment. It is our policy that all climbers must wear a park-issued coin around their necks. When you have finished climbing, please return the coin to the office. When climbing, please stick to the marked paths. There are several places outside the designated climbing areas that are more dangerous than they look. You may see a climber in orange clothing in one of these areas. They are there often. Do not attempt to join them. On the occasions people have been witnessed doing so, they have not returned. As yet, no bodies have been found. General safety. As stated above, it is important to wear your pass at all times. Several people have reported feelings of disorientation and nausea upon removing their pass in the park. On 2 occasions, patrons were found at the edge of the property, speaking incoherently about circular trails and creeping from the trees. The children's area is closed on Mondays. School groups are asked to book on Tuesdays and Thursdays only to avoid congestion. Please notify a staff member if a child is seen inside the playground on a Monday. And do not make eye contact with said child, no matter how many different voices they appeal to you in. School groups are required to have 1 adult per 4 children. Regardless of school policy or student age, please count your students regularly throughout the day. Fluctuation of 1 to 4 students is normal. By the time you leave, you should be back to the correct amount. Dogs, with the exception of service dogs, are not allowed in the park. Service dogs must be kept on leash at all times. Visitors with hearing aids should be aware of patches of electrical interference throughout the park. This is most likely to occur on the west side of Stewart Hill. All trail markers are blue wooden posts marked with arrows, numbers, compass points, and brief directions. There is a red switch on each one. Do not follow any other type of trail marker. If a member of your group becomes insistent on following an unofficial trail marker, such as a differently colored post or an arrow in the dirt, it is permitted to restrain them. You may use any means necessary. If they get away from you and go down the trail anyway, do not attempt to follow them. Press the switch on the nearest trail marker and await a staff member. The quicker you press the switch, the more likely your trail companion will be retrieved. It is normal when retrieved from a false trail to have nightmares for up to a week afterwards. You will be given a coin of the same kind that is given to the climbers to take home. A staff member will come to collect it after 2 weeks, during which you must wear the coin at all times. It is important to keep your curtains and windows closed while sleeping for 2 weeks afterwards. Please also advise a member of staff if you see a wounded visitor. A wounded visitor will appear naked and disoriented, with at least one visible injury, steadily losing blood. They are likely to talk about trees and hands and try to touch you. Do not allow them to do so. Press the nearest emergency switch for help. You may notice branches pick up more wind in the presence of a wounded visitor. They may appear to be reaching toward them. If this happens, remove yourself from the area. Wounded visitors are most common on the trails, but occasionally appear in the caves as well. Protocol is the same regardless of where the wounded visitors are seen. If you observe what look like hands trying to reach for you around corners, calmly step away and await the help of a staff member. Sightings of the following should also be reported to members of staff: overturned bins, abandoned hiking equipment, local flora changing positions, clothing hung from bushes, bipedal koalas, staff members in the wrong uniform, open tents, unattended children, abnormally large footprints, hands reaching out from unusual places, and handprints in climbing patterns on the sheer surfaces. The Tate National Park is home to an abundance of native wildlife, including a large number of lyrebirds. The lyrebird is a mimic, famed for their vocal ability. They can mimic all sorts of sounds, from human voices to machinery. Do not be alarmed. Common noises from the lyrebird in Tate National Park include camera shutters, it's not a tower, kookaburra calls, it's something else, I am climbing, comes from the trees, the hands, who is that? Do not be alarmed. Keep your pass on and refer to the visitor's guide, and you will have a pleasant time. Please enjoy your visit to Tate National Park. I finished the last page and closed the little book. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little disturbed by the bizarre information the pamphlet contained. But I would also be lying if I didn't admit that I was intrigued. If I wanted a little danger in my life, perhaps Tate National Park would be the perfect place to plan my next trip to. If I make it back, I'll let you know how it was. The end. This was a visitor's guide to Tate National Park, written by T.A. Robbins, also known as WatchfulBirds, narrated by Remy Militello. I was also lucky enough to draft the wraparound segments, which I would like to say thank you. Also, please check out T.A. Robbins' subreddit, r WatchfulBirds, a link for which has been provided below, along with a link to the story itself. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you join us next week for another terrifying tale. Stay safe and keep creating.